Okay. Yeah. Lady Wolf Pack on a whole nother level. Savage as they come, gang of female rebel. Got the sharpest claws, we got the whitest teeth. We coming for your lunch, but we only bring the heat.
Hey y'all, I'm Cassidy, the favorite daughter, obviously.
And I'm Kim, her mom, her match, and the real reason she turned out halfway decent.
Welcome to Mom's Favorite, the podcast where we laugh, vent, and overshare like it's our full-time job.
Yeah. And we're coming straight to you from Austin, Texas, where the queso's hot, the opinions are hotter, and we don't sugarcoat a damn thing.
You know, just think of us as Thelma and Louise, but only they're related and they have a podcast instead of a death wish.
So go ahead and pour yourself something strong, maybe a margarita, get a little snack.
Because here on Mom's Favorite, we got a lot to unpack.
So Cass, today we have someone with us that I have actually known for, believe it or not, like 22 years.
Wow.
I did the math, and
But I'm not even that old. How do you?
I'm only 25 years old.
So we have a friend of mine that I've been friends with for 22 years, and we are both autism warrior moms and autism warrior advocates.
Right.
And I'm happy to introduce Nidia Heston. She is, besides a very, very good friend, she's also very active in advocacy work and special education. And anytime I would ever need to know anything, you would be my gal to call.
Well, I'm glad to be here, to be of service to people who just have questions. I don't know why sometimes I have answers. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. But yeah, I'm here to help and be support to my friends.
Yeah, you are. You kind of have that nature about you anyway. But so let's talk a little bit first about kind of just you, like,
Sure.
because, and honestly, as long as we've been friends, because we may go like a couple of years and not even speak and talk. It's not like we're, we do lunch and, talk about
Life
Desperate
happens. Yeah,
Housewives.
life
Right? But I do see you when especially I need something, and I'm sorry that I'm that kind of fair weather friend, but
No, I mean, I think those are the best friends. I saw something on Facebook this week was like, we may go a month, a few months, maybe a year without actually talking. But when we get together, I think those are the best friends. Send a text and it's like you're right back.
Right, like
where you
time's
last left
never
off.
passed.
Yeah.
right.
I have friends like that for sure. Especially this life, you're busy and
I mean,
Before you know it.
being the kind of moms we are to the kids who need special, I don't want to say attention, but we just have to create lives for them. We are super busy.
Yeah. I mean, none of us have that much time to really devote into, we're lucky to devote that into our partners, our spouses or
Right.
whatnot. But anyway, back to, I don't know a lot about like, your background. Were you born in Austin?
So I am born and raised. Austinite was born at Brackenridge Hospital, which no longer is there. We're trying to figure out how far back Austinites we go. I think I'm a third or fourth generation native born Austinite. So yeah, I've been around a while.
wow. That's so rare these days. I feel like everybody's always a transplant. Mom's just throwing things.
Sorry, excuse me. Pardon moi.
Yeah, some people are like, oh, I've been here 20 years. I feel like I'm not. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've been here 20 years, but no, you're not.
I know. Yeah. I mean, the 20 years prior to that 20 years were the best years of Austin, actually. So, in my opinion.
True.
But anyway, so you were born and raised in Austin, and you went to Crockett?
I went to Crockett High School. I went to 2 different junior highs and 2 different elementary schools because of when I went into elementary school was when they thought they could start integrating schools. They thought it was a great idea. Where the house I grew up in, I could see my elementary school from my front porch. With integration, I then was bused about pretty much an hour away so that I could integrate the schools that were nowhere near where our community, which was, it was hard. I was told
that is a hard time.
Yeah, I was told we don't want your kind of people here. From a teacher, from several teachers.
Jeez,
so it was hard.
probably.
But coming back to Crockett, it was one of the only schools in South Austin. And so pretty much every kid that I had grown up with way back when and had gone to school with, we all ended up back at Crockett. So it was a huge melting pot of all kinds of people. And it was a good experience.
Nice. That's amazing. And now, is that where you met Adrian?
No, this is a good story. So again, going back, we just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary a few months ago in March.
Your husband.
So, and Adrian is my husband. So we met at an HEB that used to be at Westgate and William Cannon. It's now the Jumpy Place.
Oh, Altitude. I know that place well.
Yes, I would say a lot of people from Austin, South Austin would know that
I
place.
do remember the HEB.
It was in Albertsons after it was an HEB for a little bit. So. This is in dispute. If he was here, he would be like, no, that's not the right story. But I was working there first. I was a working woman as a teenager. And I joke that he didn't have to work until he was 17. I had to work when I was 16. And anyway, I tell him, I've never told this story before. But I was working at the customer service center, and if you go to HEB's, it's kind of raised podium, and you can kind of see the store. And he, at that time, the frozen food section was down the middle of the store. And so there was a spill, and he started cleaning up the spill. I don't know, I guess he was doing maintenance or whatever. And I am telling you, when you see like the picture of Cupid like pulling the arrow, that is exactly what happened to me. I was like, oh my Christ, who is this fine piece of specimen mopping the floor right now? And that was it. So, but we didn't talk. I mean, I was way too shy, and we didn't talk for months. And then he moved up to management, and then we got to work together more frequently. And then we were friends for about a year, and then started dating after that. So it was a good foundation. We had about a year and a half, 2 years of just getting to know each other and, at work and stuff before we actually started dating.
Yeah. That's what a love story.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
That's so cute.
So what is his dispute on the story?
His dispute is that we started working at the same time.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Because he doesn't like that I tell it that he didn't have to work until he was older.
Yeah, no.
And I mean, when I say had to, I mean, you know what I mean. And that I started working first. He says we were the same age. Now, he calls me his old lady because I'm 2 weeks older than him.
Oh, good Lord.
So, and that's the proof that I use that he didn't come on until a year later, because I would have known that we were the same age. But anyway, so yeah, maybe if he hears this podcast, he'll leave a comment wrong.
Adrian, if you do listen to this podcast, which I know you will because your honey is on it, but if you're listening, feel free to give us a call or reach out to me and let me know the real story, and maybe we may have to have you come on.
He might. He'll be like, she was wrong.
Silly.
But yeah, so I'm a Austinite, several generations back. Grew up in East Austin over by Rainey Street, which looks 100% different than it did back when I was, when I say running those streets, like running to the HEB that was up the street from us. Went to school here and I'm the oldest of 4 siblings and a Latina, so that's a lot of responsibility.
That is. I didn't know that either about you. I knew you had a bigger family, but I didn't know how many. Okay.
Yeah, so it's me and then a sister and then 2 younger brothers.
Okay.
And there's quite a years between us. So I'm 5 years older than my sister, and I'm about 12 years older than my next brother, and about 14 years older than my youngest brother.
So, but you really had a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it's a responsibility.
Older.
One of my brothers also, I was about 12 years old when he had his first, what we called then grand mal seizure, but is known now as a tonic-clonic. Thank you. Thank you, nurse. And he was only 6 months old, and I'm a 12-year-old thing, and we don't know what's happening.
Scary.
So, needless to say, I've grown up around disability. My mom, people say, how do you know to do all this? It's like, I watched my mom literally flip through the yellow pages and white pages of the phone book looking for resources for my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Now, years later, I am now the guardian for that brother. And so, and he lives with my parents. So just on the daily helping coordinate what he needs. He's medically involved, is developmentally affected. But yeah, so disability is just how we live. It's just our life. When I walk in somewhere, I'm like, okay, well, someone with a wheelchair would not be able to access. Like, that's just how my brain works.
Yes.
And it can be exhausting, but it's, for some people, it's just, way of
natural.
life.
Yeah. Kind of comes natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously it does, because it's also your career path that you chose. And you kind of, because you have also a son with special needs, which we're going to talk about him in a minute, but you took a path of educating when you could through the years. So you got a pretty extensive education, and you are helping special needs people now. That's what you do.
Sure. People often ask, how did you get into this? I was like, well, I didn't choose it. I would have chosen something else. But in looking back, when we talked about the high school I went to, we had a program for child development, early development. And so by 10th grade, I was already doing kind of internship work at the Child Development Center down the street. I'd go to school half day and then go work at the Child Development Center for the second half of the day. So early on, and I think because of my brother, I could see how early intervention was so helpful for children. And that just, was interesting to me, especially for families not knowing, what they could do. Going back to my mom, she eventually connected our family with ECI services, Easter Seals at the time. And it was it was amazing. I loved everything about it and how helpful it was to us as a family in order to help my brother. So early on, that was my path. I was going to work in early childhood, eventually get enough money to open a child care center that was open for children with special health care needs. Like, that was my goal. So I think I've always been, because of my experience growing up, if people had a question about something, I just kind of knew, because again, it was just our life. And I think just being along that path, has just kind of led me to where I am today, especially, the things that I saw with my own son when he was a baby.
Yeah, but boy, did that ever kind of prepare you, I mean, at least give you an idea of where to go versus someone who is just sprung on being given or having a child with special needs and not knowing, okay, now what do I do? Where do I go? So you had that, and that's great for sure. What do you think? Okay, so let's talk about Quinn a little bit.
Okay.
So little Quinn.
Little Quinn. We used to call
Quinn is your baby boy.
Yes.
Your newborn son. Who is 20. How old is Quinn?
Quinn is 23 and a half years old tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Wait, let me see. He's a November baby, so I guess it would have been
21st,
No.
22nd,
the 23rd. So was it
23rd.
May? Maybe it was April. Anyway, he's 23 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Awesome.
a
I can't
November
believe
baby
they
myself.
I just can't even believe it. Like, all the kids are all grown ups now. They're not kids anymore. They're not our babies
Yeah.
anymore. So Quinn has, if you feel comfortable sharing,
Sure.
he has
yeah.
a diagnosis of what?
So Quinn has the diagnosis of classic autism. So a lot of people, we talked about just a second ago, think of Quinn as, there's lots of different terms. He's high functioning autism. Now there's levels of 1, 2, 3, I think, autism. I'm not real familiar with those. And so people are like, oh, or he's Asperger's. And I'll say, no, he is classic autism. That means that he had a very delayed speech communication disorder and was not interested in the world around him. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm very interested in early childhood development. By the time I had Quinn, I was in my early 30s. I had seen literally hundreds of babies and children. So by 6 months old, I knew that Quinn was not developing in the way that is typical child development.
Mm-hmm.
One day, he was laying on the floor, staring at the ceiling fan, and staring up at the ceiling fan. And I was just watching him. And our house, the way it's built, the garage, when you come in from the garage door, it slams, and it's right in it. You walk into the living room. So my husband had gotten home, and the door slams, and I'm looking at Quinn, and he doesn't even flinch. And I'm like, okay, this is something to keep our eyes on. I will have to say that when Quinn was 6 months old, I was in a rollover car accident, on my birthday.
Oh, geez.
So there are parts of 6 to 9 months that are hard for me to remember. It took a few days to realize I had a concussion. And then, of course, all the PTSD of
Sure.
the car accident and postpartum with having a baby. And there's just a lot that I don't remember a few months. So it kind of jumps from that 6-month date to 9 months later when this happens with the garage door.
Mm-hmm.
So about when he was about a year old, I was like, yeah, this is a problem. He's not communicating. He's not looking at us. I remember one day being so proud that he had dragged the chair to the pantry and was like fixing literally like his own afternoon snack. I was like, oh, see, we keep the snacks low so he can get what he needs. And in hindsight, I'm like, oh, he didn't care that there was anybody else. Like, we didn't have to take care of him. Like, that was a problem. So it took us a couple of years to really get him the support that he needed because he looked fine. But at daycare and at school, he was really hard to manage. We were at a daycare where the parents got together to kick him out. Oh. And the teacher, the daycare provider, she also had a son with autism. And she was like, yeah, no one's leaving. Quinn is staying. No one is leaving.
Goodness.
Y'all can leave if y'all want, but no, he's staying. And the story of how we got to that daycare is a good story too. I did not know. It was not intentional that we landed at that daycare, but I'm so glad we did. She
But
was
it was
like
planned.
his second.
Planned
Yeah,
it,
somebody
right?
planned it. So anyway, so he, at about 2.5, 3 years old, I ended up working through a series of God plannings. I ended up working at the Children's Hospital here in Austin and in the developmental clinic, which is, I don't even know that we have I think we have one developmental clinic in Austin now. Anyway, I was like, please assess my child so I know for sure. And we had really started seeing a neurologist And so at about 3.5, he received the diagnosis of autism and was told that I needed to start looking into group homes for him because he was not going to be able to live as a functional adult. So he was between 3.5 or 4 at this time. And I heard this from people that I worked with and I trusted. And I was like, oh my gosh, what about the people who don't know? The people who are telling them this? Like, I knew that they were telling me this, to prepare me. And I was like, what about the parents who don't have anyone who, I just,
Right.
I was
The
just
parents
like, wow.
that would just accept that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, we've only been at this for 3 years. I know he's not talking. So no, we're not ready to, I don't want to say give up, but we're not ready to look at that option yet.
Yeah, no.
So it would be 3 more years right before he started kindergarten that he started talking. So he was born at 10.5 pounds. Another fact that my husband would dispute. He says 10.4 pounds. I was like, you didn't grow him and they didn't pull him out of you. So I'm going with the 10.5 pounds. So my kid was a big kid. So it was terrifying for him to think that he was going into kindergarten, not verbal, and still needed assistance with toileting. And he was a big kid. So,
now, at that point, when he was going into kindergarten, he had a diagnosis. And so was he going in under the SPED umbrella at that point?
Yes. So I had a friend who was working at ECI. I called her out of here. I was like, girl, you need to come see this kid. He's not talking. He's hiding in the tables, da-da-da-da. So she put together a team, brought him out, and she's like, he's fine. He's on level, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, he's not, but okay, we'll wait another year. So right before his second birthday, I was like, girl, you got to come out again because he's, it's really bad now and all these kind of things. So she came out and the team was like, oh my God, he's so delayed. Why didn't you call us sooner? It's like, I did.
Rude.
But because of my experience in child development, we were doing all what I thought were all the right things in order to keep him connected to us and to the world, right? We would do sign. We would do all kinds of social stories. Showed him pictures. Oh, I should have brought it. I came across a little book. I did a closet clean out the other night. I came across a little book I had made with his picture, and each page had his name on it, so that he would, makes me cry, so that he would know his name and who he was. Sorry.
It's okay.
And yeah. Anyway, so we did lots of things. The one story I like to tell is he really enjoyed soccer. So his kind of autism, if he watches something that he likes, he can just watch it and immediately imitate it and then be really good at it. So it's like he reaches a point where he feels like he's good at it, he's done it, and then he's done. So we did soccer for a season because that's kind of how it happened. And he was fantastic. It wasn't like a league soccer or anything, but he was really good. And the parents loved him. Everything was great, except because he had his language still was not there. He didn't understand when you had to take a break. He didn't understand when taking turns, that didn't come out, developed till he was about 9 or 10. He didn't understand that the teams had to take turns. If someone else got the ball, I was like, oh my gosh, they might die today. So after the first game, I went home and created little cards with stick figures. And I hate to draw, but there were stick figures and the word with like, take a break, get water, other team's turn. I don't know what I called it. So anyway, the next game, I'm literally running down the field with the card so that he understands like what this particular action is. And so he got really good and was able, I had to do that maybe a couple of times, even one time. But I guess the second game of doing the cards, I was like, well, this half, I'm just going to stand on the sidelines. He would run over to me, look through the cards to find the one that I guess he was connecting with for whatever was going on at the moment. And then I could see in his eyes, he would be like, okay, check, and then go out and do whatever that was. So we did a lot of that kind of stuff until he was able to talk. I'm sorry, I forgot what your question was.
Accommodations.
So
just all these accommodations.
It was a lot of things that we did in our home because I remember telling my husband when he's not going to talk. We don't know what's going on. I said, even because my brother is still nonverbal, I said, even if he doesn't talk, he's going to have a way to identify and share and find and get his needs met, whatever that looks like. So it was really important to us to have some form of continued language for him.
Now, did he do ABA as well, or no?
Girl,
he did speech
no.
therapy.
We did not do ABA at that time. Seems like such a long time ago. ABA was not a thing. You only got ABA if you had tons of money, which we did not. Thanks to the Autism Society of Texas, that is now a thing that families can access, and I'm so grateful that that's part of just regular autism language now. I'm so glad. But no, we really depended on our speech therapist and occupational therapist to create a home plan for us to meet his needs. He had gotten kicked out of 3 speech therapy places for children. He was barely 3 and had been kicked out.
Goodness.
One place told me he's so bad no one can ever serve him or help him.
Jeez.
That was at the Children's Hospital Speech Clinic.
Well, that's just sweet as can be. It is for a 3-year-old.
Bad behaviors?
Yes. He was an animal. He was wild.
But did they die?
He was wild. Who did?
The employees?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. But I will say,
how could he have been?
We ended up finding
He's 3.
and so the last place that we ended up going to, the owner was really great, and so she hired really great people. So the speech therapist that ended up taking him there saw how his level of need, and she ended up starting her own speech center. So it was Amy.
Oh.
So we've known that speech therapist since he was about 3 years old. And so she was fantastic. Her goal was never to make him talk. I told her, I just need him to be connected because I don't know if he'll ever talk. I just need him to understand the connection with language and social. So yes, he started what I still call PPCD, public school for children with disabilities at 3.
Okay.
Like I said,
he had special education services through. What would you say was your biggest obstacle of being his advocate, being his mom?
other parents.
Really?
Yeah.
So
going back to the daycare. So the daycare he ended up at was the daycare that was on site for this school at the elementary school. And the only reason I know about this daycare is because my neighbor's children, who was a teacher there, she took her children to that daycare. And like I said, daycare ended up being a saga for us. So I was like, do you think your daycare has a place for him just for the next 3 or 4 months while I get this worked out? And so she did. And then the director ended up having a child with autism. So she immediately fell in love with Quinn. She gave him the nickname Quinn. And so because he was at the on-site child care center, the school he went to, he would go to the PPCD program in the morning and then go to her at the daycare in the afternoon. But it was really hard for other parents to, and I get it. He was wild. He was hiding under tables. If you got near him, he would throw things at you. He didn't develop relationships.
He didn't have communication
with other children. He didn't have communication. So, but I will say the teachers at the elementary school were really amazing. I think again because of the relationship we had with the child care center, and again. I'll just say, I feel like God really arranged all of that for us.
Well, you had a hand in it too.
Well, yes.
Now, where did he go to elementary?
So he went to Patton Elementary.
Okay.
But then the teacher there got sick, and he had to be transferred to Sunset Valley Elementary via bus.
Because they didn't have anybody else to
Because they didn't have any.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to close the classroom. So I had to put a non-speaking child on a school bus to go to a school.
I did that too. That
I had no. I was like, you are freaking kidding me. And I remember telling my husband, for some reason, I couldn't. That morning, I couldn't. I was like, I'm going to follow the bus, make sure he gets there, make sure he gets off, make sure someone holds his hand because this kid runs. Like, right, all the thoughts run through your head. And I remember telling my husband, I need you to follow the bus. And I don't remember where I was working at the time that I couldn't do it that day. And so I called him later. I was like, oh, how did he get there? You know, is he fine? He was, oh, I don't know. The bus. I was like, are you fucking kidding? And so I had to call the school, make sure he got, you know, all the things. Well, the teacher at Sunset Valley, she was a former ECI director.
Wow.
And she was amazing. And I was like, you know, looking back, and I do it often. Although we didn't have ABA, we had a lot of people who were knowledgeable and caring and understood that this wasn't just about school. If anything, we needed to know how to move forward through life with him, and just kind of set all that up and set us on a good pace going forward.
Right.
Now, when he turned 6, there was an incident at school, and they said he can't be here today or tomorrow. And I said, well, that's good because he's got doctor's appointments anyway. I'm actually on my way to pick him up for an appointment. So he started medication when he was about 6. By about 7, we saw a real difference in, it wasn't autistic behaviors that we were seeing. By 7, he was talking and wanted to throw himself down the stairs. So I was like, and by that time I was working at a mental health clinic and had learned a lot about children's mental health. And I didn't know anything about that area. And so just continued to document these behaviors that seemed different or combined with autistic behaviors. And at 10, which is really young, he was also met the criteria for provisional diagnosis of bipolar disorder, which is highly, highly, highly unusual.
Because he was having those thoughts of intrusive thoughts of harming himself or whatever. Is that why?
That was a part of it.
Just like the ups and downs?
But it was a lot of, for him, it was a lot of grandiose thinking. And I know that's hard to imagine. I was just talking to a friend of mine about this the other day for a 7, 8, or 9-year-old. But when you see it, you know that, especially when you see other kids, you know that it's different. And it was to the point where he couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat because he was hyper focused on this, whatever the thought of, you know,
like
that cycle
the mania.
was. Yeah, it was the mania. I remember him literally running around our dinner table, and we had all his favorite autistic foods, but he was running around the table and talking 100 miles an hour. And my husband and I were just like, we were like, what is happening? What is happening? And that's when I was like, I think this is something more. And then as we went along that journey, I realized that some of the, he would like pick at his skin, pencils he would sharpen and like poke at his skin. I didn't realize that those were what we would call now self-harming behaviors. So yeah, it was just different. And so anyway, by 10, he had both the autism and the provisional bipolar disorder.
Did that stay with him, or did that get kind of?
So because of another kind of cycle, right before his 18th birthday, I was like, let's go back and revisit this. And we went to the same place, same psychologist, and she's like, yeah, this is. Okay. She goes, we're going to go ahead and stamp this. And I think that when we had the follow-up meeting, he had just turned 18. We were worried about, so by that time, so I started working in children's mental health when he was right before he turned 6. And this was his 18th birthday, so 8, 9 years later. So I was now very familiar with, psychosis and schizoaffective and all these things. And so that was something I thought I was kind of seeing with him, which is why I had taken him back in. He was having, well, I don't want to put those words in his mouth, but I just noticed some things that were different.
Right.
So she gave us some things to kind of look for as he continues to grow into adulthood. And so we're very honest with him about it all. Parents often ask me, well, do you tell your kids? I'm like, your kids already know.
Yeah.
They know. So he knew.
Does he ever say something like, well, I don't want autism. I don't want to have this.
He's never said that before, but he has said, and I think we'll probably get into this later, but other struggles he's had, he's like, why does this have to happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, I think him knowing from the very beginning what those struggles or diagnoses are and us not sugarcoating it has been helpful because we're not, for me, I feel like if you don't talk about it or you sugarcoat it, then it becomes like a secret.
Right.
And a bad secret.
Mm-hmm.
Even within your own family and for the child.
Mm-hmm.
And although we'd like to think we're going to live forever for our children, we probably aren't. And I'm always thinking of the future for my child. I really don't think about right now. We kind of had a blow up yesterday. We were trying to have a nice little Father's Day lunch, and it wasn't a blow up. It was a loud exchange of ideas, I like to call it.
I love that.
Right before we walk into the restaurant, because you have to set kind of the expectation. And so today, right before I came, I had to take him up north, and we got in the car, and I said, "So, are we okay with yesterday? Like, are we?" He goes, "Yes. I know that you are always telling me things to teach me for later."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always look at, and maybe because I was in a car accident when he was 6 months old, I always think about, him without us. Like what I want him to, just like any parent, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
But not like any parent, because you and we worry more than a regular typical parent.
Right.
Because they're not most likely going to be capable of 100% taking care of themselves and being independent. They're going to need some oversight.
Yes.
And Jake is a little bit like Quinn in the sense that he can look very normal at times, and he can seem and he's very cyclical. He can have periods where he goes through and he can be functioning very well, and then he can be real non-functional.
Mm-hmm.
And it always keeps you on your toes, that's for sure. But it is different because
you're right. Yeah.
you have to make arrangements.
Right. I think that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Is we have to be very intentional of the arrangements and what we teach our children.
Right.
I think parents who have children who don't have special healthcare needs, we can teach our children by modeling, or, there's just kind of a natural acquisition of this is how we do things.
Mm-hmm.
For my son, he doesn't naturally get that. And I think that's the social part for him. But on top of it, you're right. We have to arrange things. We have to plan things ahead of time, for him, because he won't be able, it's just too much to arrange all the stuff on his behalf.
Yeah. Everything we have to be, and you are a prime example of a caregiver. And what do you do to take care of yourself? I mean, how do you do it? Because you are, do you have benefits? You do have
like health insurance benefits?
No, like HCS or anything like that?
Quinn participates in a Texas waiver called class waiver.
Okay,
Community
class.
living and supportive assist. I don't know. something, but it's called class waiver. So he gets access to non-traditional therapy services and also Medicaid based on his income. He had to wait 12 years to be part of that program. So that's a whole other podcast in and of itself. But yes, he does get that. He also recently, when he turned 18, we applied for his SSI, like, most, well, I don't say most, but parents who have kids with special healthcare needs do often. He did. So he's been receiving SSI since he was, I think, about 20 is when the application finally went through. So if you think you want to do that, apply early and keep on them. But a couple of years ago, when we were renewing his SSI, the representative said, "Oh, I see that you've worked in the past." I'm like, well, okay, let's be careful with what we say about work. I said, he's been on a lot of job training programs. She goes, well, it's considered work credits. So he actually has to apply for Medicare. And I was like, wait, what? He's only 20, right? So my 20-year-old, maybe he was 21 at the time, we had to kind of redo the whole application. So my now 23-year-old, because of all the job training programs he did, now has Medicare and Medicaid and SSI, or what they call SSDI.
SSDI, yeah. Wow.
Well, he gets both out of both buckets. But yeah. So, I mean, again, in thinking ahead, when he was doing those job training programs, I wasn't like, oh, he needs to work.
He needs work credits.
Work right now or work credits. I just was like following the program. And this is a resulting benefit of that. And because he has the Medicare and the Medicaid, he doesn't have to pay for his Medicare. So
that's terrific.
I know.
That's
and like, so talk about a setup, like, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. But yeah, that's a setup if he continues to qualify. That's
well, that's great that you've gotten all those things in place, because I know that is all a lot of work to get all that stuff lined up, and it's not for the faint at heart, I'll tell you.
It's my other full-time job. It's my second full-time job.
Yeah. It really is. Then it has to be kept up with. And, and then, of course, I'm sure, I don't know. Do you have guardianship or no?
We do not have guardianship for Quinn. We have power of attorney for medical, just because it's so complicated for him to do it on his own, and financial, just because it's safer right now. And again, it's something that we talk about with him, and we didn't really, I don't say we gave him the option. We explained to him what the options were. And, of course, me and my husband had already kind of decided on the POAs, but he was like, well, that one sounds good. And I was like, yeah, we think so too. So, we're currently on his bank account. We can see, I get alerts if anything, anything charges or anything, I get alerts. So that's how we manage it with him. But again, just making sure that we're planning with him, not for him.
Correct. Yeah, that's great. That's terrific. So then once we kind of left off, he went through middle school and everything, and then he went to high school. Did he go to Austin?
So he did not go to high school. Well, he didn't go to public high school.
Oh, okay.
He so in eighth, lots of things happen in middle school, but
middle school's so fun, isn't it?
No.
It's horrible.
It's awful.
I was being very facetious.
Well, to all those middle school teachers out there, thank you. It is a thankless job. I know.
Yes.
It is, but it's awful. But so lots of things happened with Quinn in middle school, but the spring of his 7th grade year in March, he was physically assaulted by one of his special education teaching assistants. She threw a trash can at his face, which broke his front tooth in half, split his lip open.
Wait a minute. This was at school?
This was at school.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, this was at, what was that, small middle school. And, all the emotional toll.
So the TA just lost it and threw a do you think the TA like intended to hit him, or were they just like, I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a whole backstory, right?
Well, just whatever you're comfortable sharing.
So what I'll say is, right after it happened, school officials and the school police got involved, and what she wrote as her account is pretty much what Quinn also said occurred. There was one other child in the classroom, student, and that student's account is pretty much, all the accounts are the same. I don't want to say it's in dispute, but the pre of what happened is what is an example of some teachers not being the adults while they're being teachers as well. Mm-hmm. I didn't know until that day that Quinn was caught kind of in a cycle of adults bullying and teasing students like him and in that classroom. So they were caught kind of in this cycle. Ultimately, she did make a choice to do that. Mm-hmm. He did not do anything physically violent or aggressive towards her, but she chose that path.
Yeah.
Whether or not she intended to hit him with the trash can or not, I don't fucking care.
Well, yeah.
The fact that she made the choice to even do that is what the issue is.
Yeah. And was she like a new person that did she?
Girl, this TA.
Girl.
I mean, TAs I know.
Girl, no, this TA, and we don't have time to go into how she got to be this TA.
Or what?
But this TA had been one of his daycare teachers when he was 2.
Oh, okay.
At the daycare across the parking lot.
Okay.
So it's not like we didn't know.
Right.
Okay.
And when we finally did get a TA for him, she came up to me and was so excited. "Oh, Miss Heston, I'm so excited to be Quinn's TA." I didn't remember her because this was years later. And that's when she told me I worked at the daycare with him. And I was like, and then I remembered, oh yeah, you're right. So I felt grateful and safe that he was going to be with someone who knew him. And a year later, she did this, was criminally charged, thank God, because if you don't know, in Texas, that is really hard. Teachers typically are not criminally charged when they hurt a student at school or any at school staff or administration. And you cannot sue schools or school districts or school staff in Texas due to what's called sovereign immunity. Mm-hmm. So it turned into 3 different cases. She was criminally charged, pled down. She was charged with a felony, ended up pleading down. We also filed a school lawsuit for his education, and then eventually also filed a civil rights case because he was physically injured. Y'all, it took 8.5 years to settle.
That's insane.
Because we had to get permission from Texas courts just to even move forward with our case. It took a Supreme Court ruling in 2023, I believe, on a different case, but that had similar, how can I say, similar merits for the reason that they were denying our case. The Supreme Court said, no, that's applying it wrong. So then Quinn's case was overturned here in Texas, and then was about a year and a half later is when the district finally agreed to settle. So anyway, he didn't go to high school.
That long to even settle. I mean, why didn't they just?
I wish, I wish someone would hear this podcast and ask him that question, because at the end of the day, we also know that school districts won't release how much they spend on fighting students and families, on lawyer fees. Mm-hmm.
Well, and
That's a whole other
people
podcast.
know, just in general, you don't win when you go up against the school district typically for anything.
Or
really.
any like just huge
There's a few, but it's not like a commonplace thing, which kind of scares people off to take it on.
I'm grateful for we ended up having 3 different attorneys, 1 for the education piece and 2 for the injury/civil rights case. Ultimately, it's a funny story. I'll just share this one short part. The first attorney we had for the injury, he was fresh out of law school. So he had all the, let's go and get him. He goes, yeah, it's very simple. It's 1, 2, 3. And I was like, okay. So after about a year and a half of him it's really paperwork, just filings and keeping up and all these things. And I would get so frustrated, and he would tell me, we're just getting discovery. They're piling up all the paperwork for us. That's just what we're doing. And eventually he came to me and he said, well, I've got another attorney who's interested in taking your case. He goes, this is just, I'm not the best person for this. I was like, yeah. And I said, well, who is
1,
it?
2, 3.
And he told me who it was, and I made a face. He goes, I know you've already talked to them, but they want to meet us, and we're going to review the case. They're very interested. I said, fine, we'll meet, but he already told me no. So we meet with this new attorney, and we're going through all this stuff, and he's kind of commending me. He's like, wow, you really know a lot, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah. And so we're going through. He goes, no disrespect to your original attorney, but why didn't you come to me to begin with? And I was like, do you really want to know why? He's like, yeah. I said, well, I asked you and you said that you wanted $10,000 and I didn't have $10,000. He goes, oh. And then he goes, well, so on this date, blah, 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 blah. So we were, again, it was just really an arrangement from a higher energy to bring all of that together.
Right.
When it first happened, the day after I brought my son home from the hospital, like my mom, I sat down. We had a phone book at the time, and because I didn't even know what to Google, to be honest. And so I started flipping through the phone book, started calling places, and after the 25th time of, no, you can't sue the school district, I was like, ain't this some bullshit? And I was like, okay, we need to chart a different path. And this attorney's name kept coming up. And so I finally got the nerve to call that attorney. And he was like, well, nope, I need a $10,000 attorney. I was like, I don't think I can sell enough tamale plates and enchilada plates by Saturday.
That's probably
to get
how
that
they
done.
weed out. Maybe they weed out.
Well, it was a very tough case. And, 8.5 years later. And the only reason they came to settle was essentially because of that Supreme Court, like the U.S. Supreme Court case. They knew that there was no money that could fight that Supreme Court ruling. So it wasn't because of compassion or because they knew that they were in the wrong. It was because the Supreme Court, they couldn't fight. Their attorney said, yeah, we don't have enough money to fight the Supreme Court case. Let's just go ahead and settle.
We already can't make our
budget. We already can't
here.
make the budget.
We've already had to lay off 50% of the staff over here. And
So Quinn left school that fall of 8th grade year. Something else happened. And I called the attorney. I was like, this is going on. What do I do? She's like, get him out of there. So when we had been trying to settle the academic case since March. So that December, I think it was December 17th, we signed it, sealed, and he left the school district. So we did homeschool. We became, in Texas, you can do your own private homeschool and just be your own private school. We called it Fuego Academy, and that's what we did.
That's cute.
Because that's what you call him, Fuego. Is that kind of
he gave himself that name when he was about 6 or 7.
Yeah, because I know you
7.
referred to him as Fuego a lot in your posts and stuff.
Yeah.
So, that's cute.
It means on fire for people who don't know.
He is a boy.
And I was like, yes.
That in itself. I mean, what do you think, Cass? Boys, are they Fuego?
Oh, totally.
Boys are Fuego.
Totally. Muy Fuego.
So, wow, he is so fortunate that that he has someone like you to advocate for him and to just, I mean, I've seen you fight, so I know I wouldn't want to go up against you. And believe me, whenever I'm in a situation where I don't know what to do, I'm like,
Mama Fuego.
I need to call Mom.
Yeah,
I need to call
Mama
Fuego.
Fuego. That's a
and
good
get
one.
Some advice, or she will know, because you do know a lot of people in the mental health and special needs and autism and all the communities. You are very active in NAMI, right?
Yes, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. There's a national organization, and then there are state affiliates. So there is one for Texas, and then there are local affiliates. So there is one for what they call Central Texas, NAMI Central Texas.
And then also, I know you do a lot with Texas Parent to Parent. You at least do some speaking stuff with them.
I have done some speaking presentations. Actually, Quinn and I did a presentation at Texas Parent to Parent a couple of years ago. We do a presentation where we talk about all of the systems that we've navigated, how to coordinate them. If you don't know, in Texas, systems for mental health and systems for developmental disabilities or autism are very different, very what we call siloed. They don't talk to each other. As a matter of fact, we talked about Quinn participating in the class program. He was participating in a mental health waiver when his name came up for the class waiver. Yes waivers for mental health, class waivers for people with autism or developmental disabilities. And we had to choose, even though he was thriving on the mental health waiver, we had to choose because the class waiver will serve him for life. But those two cannot work together. And class does not offer mental health services the way we think about it.
All of this stuff, by the way, for all the people, some of our listeners that aren't versed in all of this stuff and all of these acronyms and stuff we're using, this stuff is extremely complicated to learn. It's not user friendly. They don't make anything easy, and you don't know who to go for what. And I remember one of our first places we went was I think it was the Health and Human Services, or one of the offices that was off of like Riverside, I think. It was in East Austin.
Riverside and Congress?
Yeah, we went in there, and all I remember is Jake was maybe about 3 or 4 years old. And they had a long hallway, and they had all of these pictures of people like that had, I guess, either worked there or whatever. All these pictures, there must have been, I don't know, 50 of them. And he went and knocked off about 25 off the walls onto the ground. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't need to go.
There's your proof. Yeah.
Right.
I don't need to. The proof is in the pudding.
Proof is in the pictures.
Yeah, and going, and then all these appointments and evaluations.
It's a full-time job. It is a full-time job.
It really
because
is.
you can only call and make connections between 8 to 5, really 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. You know, most people are working their regular job that supplies the health insurance and the gas money to drive to all these places.
Correct. And then you've also got a child that you're having behavioral difficulties with or whatever, and you're having to drag them to all of this stuff. And, you know, I, like you, have been lucky to have a lot of things kind of fall my way. And, you know, when things were really, really awful, I would, you know, something would always kind of shine through.
Right.
You know, when God closes a door, he opens a window.
Right.
So I can totally relate to that sentiment. And you just keep going.
And you just keep
going. And I really admire you for you doing that, for not only for Quinn, but you doing it for friends and everybody, because it's your chosen path of your career field. And
you know, I tell, well, it happens often, but I often wonder, like, do I want to take this on? Do I want to help? I mean, I don't know how much help I'm providing to somebody else, because my windows aren't always someone else's windows. It may not be my windows may not be in their house. You know, I don't know. But what I came to the realization this week, through another experience, was I really just want to be there to help, like, So a few years ago, I'm 54. A few years ago, I was diagnosed as an adult on the spectrum. So now I understand why I visualize or I picture things that I talk about. So what I picture in my head is just kind of guiding someone towards the light at the other end of the tunnel. And I think when people say, I need help with this, or I need this, or this is hard, I have for many years provided that answer. Like, okay, this is the phone number you call, or this is where you go. But I find that people just really are looking for emotional, compassionate support for that. So I really try to be that person who's hopefully providing, I don't want to say hope, but like, the light's over here, like, come this way.
Right.
Like, right, keep going. You're close. The light's right over here. Or at least here are all the windows, go follow the windows to the end of the whatever is happening right now. So I appreciate you saying that. But I'm hoping that what I am for people is just kind of that hope. You have there's this poem, but, to kind of be the tour guide through all of this. My answers, the restaurants that I like in a city for a tour guide may not be the restaurants you like, but at least I can show you where the different I've been in this city. I've lived here 23 years in this city. I can show you where the different places are.
Well, and I think you're right. It's sometimes just the talking to somebody who has walked in those shoes and also has the experiences that you do. It's helpful, especially when you're in the trenches of something horrible going on. And then I can talk to you and I can say, hey, this is going on. I don't even know where to turn at this point. I've tried this and that. And then, you would come up with something always. And something is always leads you to something else. And
right.
So, I always said, I do not have all the answers.
Right.
I do not. But I can guarantee you that I can find them.
Right.
And I'm going to go somewhere to get them. And I think that's the key, because there are just so many answers out there.
And sometimes the answer is someone else who is just going to be there to listen to your rant text or your rant phone call about shit didn't go well today.
Right.
They were supposed to have the answer today and they didn't. Like, sometimes you just need that. We were talking about autism, my son's diagnosis of autism and mental health. When he was diagnosed with autism, I immediately connected with the Autism Society. At that time, it was of Austin and then Central Texas. And all kinds of support. You didn't feel alone. Whether or not you participated in activities or workshops, you at least felt like you had some sort of community. I often tell people, Kim and I are in a kind of our little autism cohort that we met when they were this young, and now that they're grown, there isn't that for the mental health piece. Especially when I tell people, oh, he has a provisional diagnosis when he was 10. They're like, yeah, all right, whatever. He's just a spoiled brat. I'm like, there just isn't that community.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
it's truly isolating. I'm just a different person. I'm like, if I wanted the answer to be yes and you tell me no, that's the wrong answer. I'm like, let's try this again until I get the yes.
Yes.
A lot of people just for a variety of reasons, they just don't have that. And I don't want to say tenacity like it's a negative. They just can't for whatever reason.
Some people actually think no means no, but
well, and there's that. And those are the people that I love, because I'm like,
mean no. No does not always mean. Think of how many times you were told no with Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
No, we can't. No, we can't. No, can't.
No,
but then
no.
come to find out when you've had a conversation about it, or maybe an ARD meeting about it.
Right.
Well, yeah. I guess we can do
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So, no doesn't always mean no. But so I want to talk about real quick, because we're going to end in a minute. But I wanted to talk about a couple of positive things, because I wanted to sort of end it on we're not talking about how difficult things are, because we know that things are hard, but I also want to talk about something kind of fun.
Okay.
So You probably wouldn't know, but there's two things that Nidia does that I am totally jealous of. Number one, she is a judge in the barbecue cook-off.
Yeehaw!
Oh,
I mean, can you imagine at the
Everyone
barbecue
gig.
cook-off at the rodeo? That's a big thing too. That is a huge.
no, that's no neighborhood cook-up.
No, that is big.
Serious
People
business.
carting in those smokers from all over the country out here.
A friend of
And
mine says it's because I like to be judgy. I'm like, if you're
Only on
good, you're
barbecue.
good.
So, yes. And the other fun thing that they do is they go to these ACL tapings, Austin City Limits, and do be able to watch. And I don't know if are you just in the audience or do you volunteer to work there?
No, we volunteer. As a matter of fact,
That's the cat. I'm sorry. If you hear a cat meowing in the background, that would be
She's fine.
the crazy cat.
I was like, is everyone okay?
Yeah.
No, so we volunteer for ACL taping. So we're the people who are there that says volunteer and we help you to your seats. Oh, well, hello.
she
She heard ACL tapings.
Shut up.
It looks like.
She's cray-cray, but anyway.
Help people to their seats, find their tickets. People come from all over the country, are very excited to come to the tapings. It's really fun. As a matter of fact, we're doing one tomorrow night for Sebastian Yatra.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
I love that. That is so fun.
It's a lot of fun.
I see sometimes when you post about it and I'm so just green with envy. Like that would be the most fun.
Well,
ever.
I will tell you, we did not start to volunteer with the intention of volunteering there. We actually started volunteering at Austin PBS.
Okay, yes.
And that is just so rewarding, so much fun. We just did an event there this past week. But from Austin PBS, they asked us if we wanted to volunteer at ACL because there's apparently a very long wait list of volunteers, as you would imagine.
Oh,
who
I would
want
imagine.
to do that. So
I would imagine.
yeah.
But now that, you and Adrian have been doing it, maybe I might have some ends now.
I don't know.
You might be able to get me.
I don't
I'm
know.
just saying. The only way to get anything is through knowing somebody.
But someone said, I'm going to mention your name. And I was like, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but good luck with that.
All right. Well, I think we are about to kind of wrap up. And Nidia, I cannot tell you how grateful and thankful I am that you came over and sat down and chatted with me. I know that I've been trying to get you on a while. I know that our schedules are crazy and you are a very busy woman. I'm not as busy as you are, but I am so glad that we were able to coordinate it and you could sit down and kind of tell us a little bit about your life and story because I thought it was very interesting.
I wanted to answer really quickly. I think you asked about self-care. We do all these volunteer things. I would say in self-care, don't forget who you are. It doesn't have to be, a spa week, which would be fabulous, but it can be your favorite coffee that you like today because you just, you have to remember who you are. Through all these volunteerings, it's good for us because I'm actually nosy. I told the PBS board this. I do it because I'm nosy. I like to see behind the scenes. I like to see how things work. It's apparently my autistic trait to do that. But, you can't forget who you are. So take that time to remind yourself who you are in your space, your family, whatever it is that you do, and put on that favorite lipstick because you deserve it.
Put on the red lipstick.
Put on that red lipstick and eat the cake.
And eat the barbecue.
And drink the latte.
And drink the beer with the barbecue.
And drink the beer with the barbecue.
All right.
Thanks, all. This was fun.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Everybody. And thank you, MFers, for joining us and always listening to us and supporting us and loving what we do. And if you have any comments or questions or suggestions, feel free to post them or send them to us.
Yeah, or if
And
you want to be interviewed, we'd love to have you on.
we've got a couple of openings for some interviews, don't we, Cass?
Yeah, but come with something good, like an interesting
with some
story,
cheese. We need the
or
cheese.
Call it cheese.
some drama, some chisme, if you will. Yes,
All right.
I'll bring
Well,
some cheese now.
yes.
thank you so much. And I guess we'll chat at you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.